When we first started the show, I really thought we were doing a show about building cars and motorcycles for people. It evolved into a show about people and their story. It really brought challenges in the early days.
Danny Koker has spent decades building one of the most recognizable names in the custom car world. Through Counting Cars, millions of viewers watched him transform forgotten classics into breathtaking masterpieces while leading a crew that looked more like family than co-workers. On television, Count's Customs seemed like the perfect garage, filled with laughter, creativity, and a shared love of horsepower. But behind the polished paint jobs and roaring engines, not every story ended with a happy ride. Over the years, several employees disappeared from the show without much explanation. Some quietly walked away, while others became the center of controversies that shocked even loyal fans. Rumors spread online, lawsuits surfaced, and trust was broken in ways that threatened both Danny's business and his reputation. Today, we're looking at 5 former employees whose departures became some of the biggest behind-the-scenes stories in Counting Cars history. Some made costly mistakes. Others simply couldn't adapt to life in front of television cameras. And a few left under circumstances that fans are still debating today. Before we reach those names, it's worth understanding why Count's Customs became such a unique place to work, and why success eventually created problems no one expected. Danny Koker didn't become famous overnight. Long before television producers ever pointed a camera at his garage, he had already built a reputation among serious car enthusiasts. Growing up around Detroit's legendary automotive culture, he developed an obsession with classic American muscle cars, hot rods, and custom motorcycles at a young age. While other kids spent weekends playing sports, Danny spent his time studying engines, restoring vehicles, and learning every detail he could about classic automobiles. That passion never faded. When he eventually moved to Las Vegas, Danny balanced his love of cars with another passion: entertainment. Local audiences knew him as Count Cool Rider, a colorful television personality who introduced late-night horror movies while dressed like a rock and roll vampire. The role made him recognizable around Las Vegas, but cars remained his real calling. Eventually, he opened Count's Customs, originally intending it to be a private workshop for restoring his own growing collection. But word spread quickly. Collectors admired his attention to detail, celebrities wanted custom builds, and before long the small garage had developed a reputation as one of Las Vegas' premier restoration shops. Everything changed again when Pawn Stars came calling. Because Count's Customs operated only a short distance from the famous gold-silver pawn shop, Danny frequently appeared as the automotive expert whenever classic cars or motorcycles arrived at the pawn shop. His knowledge, relaxed personality, and genuine enthusiasm made him an instant fan favorite. Television executives noticed. In 2012, Counting Cars premiered on the History Channel, following Danny and his growing team as they restored classic vehicles, customized motorcycles, and hunted for rare automotive treasures. Unlike many reality shows built around manufactured arguments, Counting Cars initially felt authentic. Viewers tuned in because they loved watching talented craftsmen solve problems and create rolling works of art. The chemistry inside the shop became just as important as the vehicles themselves. Each employee brought a different personality to the screen. Some specialized in paint, others in fabrication, detailing, bookkeeping, or motorcycle construction. Together they formed a team that seemed balanced, supportive, and deeply passionate about their work. As ratings climbed, Count's Customs transformed from a respected local business into an international attraction. Fans traveled from around the world hoping to meet the crew, photograph the famous garage, or simply watch a restoration in progress. That popularity, however, introduced pressures nobody had anticipated. Television creates an illusion that every restoration happens quickly. A complete vehicle transformation might appear to take only 30 minutes of screen time, but the reality was very different. Many projects required weeks or even months of painstaking labor. Rare parts had to be located, damaged components rebuilt, paint carefully layered, engines tuned repeatedly, and unexpected setbacks solved before customers ever saw the finished product. Meanwhile, production schedules demanded constant filming. Cameras followed the crew through every stage of every build. Editors later compressed countless hours of footage into fast-paced episodes, making incredibly difficult projects appear almost effortless. While viewers enjoyed entertaining television, the employees worked under enormous pressure to satisfy customers while simultaneously creating compelling content for millions of viewers. Danny himself became known for exceptionally high standards. If the paint wasn't perfect, it had to be redone. If an engine sounded slightly off, the crew kept working until the problem disappeared. Good enough was never good enough. Maintaining that level of quality while operating under television deadlines wasn't easy. Long workdays became common, and the pressure intensified as the show's popularity continued growing. Fame also changed daily life inside Count's Customs. What had once been a quiet workshop suddenly became a tourist destination. Fans frequently gathered outside hoping for photographs or autographs. Visitors interrupted work with questions, cameras, and requests to meet cast members. While everyone appreciated the support, constant attention made it increasingly difficult to focus on complex restoration projects. The growing spotlight affected employees differently. Some embraced television fame. Others preferred working behind the scenes and found the attention exhausting. As individual cast members became recognizable celebrities, personalities naturally grew larger. Recognition often brought new opportunities, but it also introduced ego, creative disagreements, and competing priorities. Maintaining harmony inside the shop became increasingly challenging. Danny wasn't simply restoring cars anymore. He was managing a television production, operating multiple businesses, supervising employees, attending public appearances, and protecting a nationally recognized brand. Every decision carried greater consequences than it had during the shop's early years. Legal issues eventually added even more stress. Former employees raised disputes, contracts became increasingly important, and Count's Customs had to protect both its finances and its reputation. While viewers continued seeing entertaining episodes filled with spectacular builds, far more complicated situations unfolded behind closed doors. Some longtime employees quietly disappeared. Others left with little explanation. Fans immediately noticed familiar faces missing from new episodes, sparking endless speculation across online forums. In many cases, the real stories proved far more complicated than rumors suggested. And that brings us to the first name on our list. One of the most damaging incidents in Count's Customs history didn't involve a mechanic, painter, or fabricator. It involved the person trusted to manage the company's finances. Joseph Frontiera worked behind the scenes as the shop's bookkeeper. His responsibilities included handling payroll, managing expenses, processing payments, and maintaining financial records. While he rarely appeared on camera, his position required enormous trust because he oversaw money flowing through the business every day. For a time, nothing appeared unusual. Then irregularities began surfacing. As financial records received closer examination, Count's Customs allegedly discovered significant missing funds. According to legal filings, Joseph was accused of diverting more than $75,000 from company accounts for personal use. The allegations claimed company money paid for expenses ranging from airline travel to a personal down payment on a luxury Range Rover. Investigators also alleged that financial documents had been manipulated and Danny Koker's signature forged to conceal the activity. For any business owner, financial theft is devastating. For someone who considered his employees part of an extended family, the betrayal felt even worse. Instead of investing that money into customer projects, employee salaries, new equipment, or business expansion, prosecutors alleged it had financed someone's private lifestyle. Danny responded through legal channels. In 2016, Count's Customs filed a lawsuit against Joseph Frontiera along with the staffing agency that had originally placed him at the company, arguing proper background checks had not been conducted before his employment. The dispute quickly attracted attention among fans, many of whom had never even realized Joseph played such an important role inside the business. By the time the lawsuit became public, Joseph had already vanished from the show without explanation. There was no emotional farewell. No dramatic confrontation. One day he simply wasn't there anymore. Only later did viewers begin connecting his disappearance with the legal battle unfolding behind the scenes. Whether because of embarrassment or a desire to avoid publicity, Joseph largely disappeared from public view afterward. Very little has been heard from him since the controversy, leaving fans with more questions than answers. For Danny, however, the experience permanently changed how financial responsibilities were handled inside Count's Customs. Internal controls reportedly became much stricter, paperwork received closer oversight, and trust had to be earned much more carefully than before. Unfortunately, Joseph's case wasn't the last time a trusted employee's departure raised eyebrows. The next name belonged to someone fans actually saw every week, a manager whose disappearance created years of speculation and countless online theories. Scott Jones was one of the earliest and most recognizable members of the Counting Cars team. As shop manager, he kept projects organized, monitored budgets, and often acted as the voice of practicality whenever Danny's ambitious ideas threatened to stretch time or money a little too far. While Danny focused on creativity, Scott focused on making sure the business side stayed under control. That difference in personalities became part of the show's appeal. Fans often watched Scott question expensive purchases, challenge risky decisions, or remind everyone that a restoration still had to make financial sense. Some viewers enjoyed the playful conflict, while others believed the two genuinely disagreed behind the scenes. Then, without much warning, Scott disappeared. There was no farewell episode, no emotional goodbye, and almost no explanation from the show itself. His sudden absence immediately fueled online speculation. Rumors suggested everything from financial disputes to arguments with Danny, but none of those claims were ever confirmed. According to later reports, the explanation was much simpler. Scott chose to move to Tennessee to be closer to his family following major changes in his personal life. Rather than being fired, he simply decided that family mattered more than television fame. He later continued working in the automotive world through his own business and even made appearances on another vehicle-focused television series. His departure may have disappointed longtime viewers, but unlike some of the other exits, it wasn't surrounded by lawsuits or proven misconduct. Still, fans never stopped wondering whether there had been more happening behind closed doors. If Scott's exit generated questions, the next departure created even more mystery. Roli Szabo quickly became one of the most beloved personalities on Counting Cars. As Count's Customs lead detailer, he was responsible for giving every finished vehicle its final showroom shine. His work demanded patience, precision, and an eye for perfection. But it wasn't just his skills that made viewers love him. His thick accent, infectious humor, constant jokes, and upbeat attitude brought a different energy to every episode. Whether he was teasing coworkers or dancing around the shop, Roli made even stressful workdays feel entertaining. Behind the laughter, however, he was a true professional. Every classic car that rolled out of Count's Customs reflected his commitment to quality. Fans admired how seriously he treated his craft while never taking himself too seriously. Then everything changed. Around 2017, Roli quietly disappeared from the series. No farewell, no explanation, no announcement. Naturally, rumors spread almost immediately. Stories circulated online claiming expensive detailing equipment had disappeared around the same time Roli left the shop. Because neither Count's Customs nor Roli publicly confirmed those rumors, they remain unverified speculation rather than established fact. What is known is that Roli stayed in Las Vegas and eventually launched his own detailing business, continuing to restore and protect custom vehicles using the same skills that made him popular on television. Whether his departure resulted from personal ambition, changing priorities, or circumstances fans never fully learned, one thing remains certain: many viewers felt the show's atmosphere changed after he left. Another employee whose reduced presence surprised fans was Shannon Aikau. Unlike some of the louder personalities, Shannon rarely sought attention. He simply let his work speak for itself. As Count's Customs' lead motorcycle builder, Shannon developed a reputation for exceptional craftsmanship. His custom bikes reflected careful engineering, flawless fabrication, and years of experience. Danny frequently praised his abilities, and many viewers considered him one of the shop's most talented builders. But as Counting Cars became increasingly popular, Shannon appeared less frequently. By later seasons, Longtime fans noticed he was receiving much less screen time before eventually fading almost completely from the series. Unlike many rumored departures, Shannon's story contained no scandal. There were no lawsuits, no public arguments, no accusations. Many longtime followers believe his reduced involvement reflected changing priorities rather than personal conflict. As reality television naturally focused more on entertainment, personalities, and dramatic storytelling, Shannon reportedly preferred concentrating on building motorcycles instead of becoming a television personality. Rather than fighting for more camera time, he quietly continued doing what he loved most: creating exceptional motorcycles. Today, he remains respected throughout the custom motorcycle community for his craftsmanship, proving that success doesn't always require constant television exposure. Finally, we come to perhaps the most recognizable personality ever to appear at Count's Customs. Mike Henry, better known as Horny Mike. With his signature horned helmet, colorful appearance, and unforgettable personality, Mike became impossible to ignore. His airbrushed artwork transformed ordinary vehicles into rolling pieces of art, while his sense of humor made him one of the show's biggest fan favorites. But beneath the outrageous image stood an extremely talented artist. His custom paint, graphics, murals, and creative designs helped define the visual identity of countless Count's Customs builds. Danny trusted Mike with some of the shop's most important finishing touches because few artists could match his imagination. Creative people, however, often have strong opinions. As the business expanded, balancing artistic freedom with customer expectations and production schedules became increasingly difficult. Television deadlines demanded rapid turnarounds, while detailed airbrush work often required far more time than production allowed. Fans gradually noticed Mike appearing less often. Rumors of disagreements naturally followed, but there has never been credible evidence that Danny fired him or that their relationship ended badly. Instead, Mike gradually shifted more attention toward building his own personal brand and business, while still maintaining a friendly relationship with Count's Customs. He continues creating custom artwork, attending automotive events, and occasionally collaborating with the shop when special projects arise. Looking back, it's interesting that the title of worst employees doesn't accurately fit every person on this list. Joseph Frontiera stands apart because legal allegations involving company funds permanently damaged trust and led to a highly public lawsuit. The others represent something different. Scott chose family over television. Roli's departure remains surrounded by unanswered questions. Shannon stayed committed to craftsmanship instead of chasing fame. Horny Mike pursued greater creative independence while remaining respected for his talent. Each departure changed the chemistry inside Count's Customs in its own way. Some exits created controversy. Others simply reminded fans that reality television only shows a small part of what really happens behind the scenes. Despite every challenge, Danny Koker continued growing Count's Customs into one of the most recognizable custom shops in America. New faces joined the team, old friendships evolved, and the passion for restoring classic cars remained the foundation of everything viewers loved about counting cars. Sometimes the biggest stories aren't the ones shown on television. They're the ones that happen after the cameras stop rolling. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at counting cars, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We'll continue uncovering the untold stories, hidden controversies, and surprising truths behind your favorite television shows.